A lot of people forget that the Americans actually tried to capture. Miners were also here. So they never really finished the Citadel.
Really? Huh.
And built a lot of it around the same period. Rebellion of Upper Canada, Lower Canada. Well, you know, their signage is really good.
Mm-hmm.
Not just here, but in the whole city. I mean, we found our way down here, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
So I bet it's right through there.
There's another one.
Is there another one?
Must For sure.
Just let you know the Citadel is still an active military base, so you need to be on a guided tour to visit. And the tour is going to go along mostly outside. And the next tour is leaving right now if you want to.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
Your attention, please. To all visitors who purchased a ticket for the English guided tour of the Citadelle de Québec, please gather in the gift shop where your guide will meet you.
Suivre, on va l'écouter à l'extérieur. English guided tour will be with me, so please follow me.
You don't want to hurt your head that way.
So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Citadelle of Québec, House of the Royal 22e Régiment. My name is Jean-Philippe and I will be your guide today. So before we start, we have a few safety rules. The first one is always stay with me, please, because here is still an active military base. Also, don't climb on anything. So don't climb on the wall, the cannons, the soldiers, and me. Really dangerous. And finally, we'll visit one little museum inside the Citadel, so no picture inside please, but outside you can take any picture you want. Okay for everyone? Good. So before we start, I'm a little curious. So where did you come from? Brazil, good.
British Columbia.
Good.
Saskatchewan.
Good.
Canada. Alberta.
Good.
Saskatchewan.
Good. Right here.
Ontario.
Good.
Toronto.
Ontario.
Oh, Minnesota.
Good. Good.
London, England.
Good. So a little international tour. Be really good. So first, did you know what is a citadel?
Fortress.
Yes, the fortress.
City defense.
Huh?
Defense of a city.
Exactly. So it's a fortress that defends a city and all its countryside. Also, the word citadel came from the Italian word cittadella. It means little city because inside the citadel we have everything we need in case of siege. For example, the museum right here. Before it was a barracks, so the soldier lived right here. We also have a hospital if they are sick, a kitchen if they are hungry, and a jail if they are bad. So the soldier can live right here without exiting the citadel for a really, really long time. Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, good. Also, did you know who built the citadel? The French, the British, the Canadians?
The British.
Exactly, it's the British. So the British construct this really, really big citadel between 1820 until 1850. And why they construct the citadel? Who was the enemy of the British at this time?
Americans.
Exactly, the Americans. So sorry for the American here, but tried 2 times to invade Canada. So the first time was during the independence war of America. This time, our army led by the General Benedict Arnold tried to take Quebec City during a winter storm. It was a really good idea, so we pushed them back. And the second time was during the War of 1812. This time, the Americans took and burned the city of Toronto, so in revenge the British, and not the Canadians, burned the White House. So not us, it was the British. So because of that, the British fear a third American attacks. It's why they decided to construct this really, really big citadel. But the Americans never came back because we become good friends. Yeah. Thanks. Also, if you look just behind you right here, we have the only original gate in Quebec City. To come here, you'll slowly pass through a gate like St. Louis Gate or St. John Gate. But at the time, they were this size right here. But we decided to modify them to allow a better circulation in Quebec City because 1 car at a time. Not really good. In addition, on each building, like right here, Italy 1943-45, or right here, France Flandre 1915-18, they are battle honors. The regiment received 44 of them, and they are really proud of them. It's why they inscribe it in the stone like here. So open your eyes, because we have an inscription like that on every building of the citadel. So basically, a battle honor, it's a little award to a regiment when they are victorious in a war, a battle, or a campaign. It depends. Right here, we have the sentence, Je me souviens. Did you know what it means? I remember, exactly. It's the motto of the province of Quebec, but it's also the motto of the Royal 22e Regiment, the regiment based here. But they have a different meanings because for the province is I remember my history, culture, and language, but for the soldier here is I remember my fellow comrade who died in combat. So it's the same sentence, but a different meanings. And finally, behind me we have 2 flags. The first one right here is the Canadian Force flag, and this one is the standard of the Royal 22e Regiment, the only regular infantry regiment in Canada that uses French as a working language. Any question? Good. So, can't follow me.
This is where the Vendus are.
Oh, right.
Yeah, they're the 22nd or the Vendus. And they were a very famous regiment in the Second World War. So this was actually built between 1820 and 1850. So you get the rebellion of Lower Canada in there. Was it built like pretty well the same years the Rideau Canal was active? Like there's the Battle of the Somme.
So right here, we have a charmant tank. It was the American tank in use during the Second World War and the Korean War. And because we're a great ally of the US, we use the same type of tank as the American. And now it's a little memorial for the fallen soldiers of the Royal 22e Régiment. Any question? You follow me? Well, inside that caponnière, just under the wall, right here. And did you know what was the purpose of a caponnière? No? No. To shoot people. Because if we look at this loophole right here, we can see the wall of the other bastion just in front of us to right here. And we can see the wall right here. So if an enemy attacks this wall right here, it will be cut in a crossfire from each side of the wall. So what is the shape of the citadel? A star, exactly. It's why we call it a bastion fortress, because each point of the star, like right here or right here, we call it a bastion, and it's really easy to defend because of the crossfire everywhere. So with this system, the citadel has no blind spot in its defense. So we have 5 bastions. We're presently under the Prince of Wales bastion right here. We have the Dalhousie bastion, the Richmond bastion, the King's bastion, and finally, the half bastion of Man right here. Also, as I said before, the citadel was built by the British and by the British engineer Elias Walker Dunford. But he do not have all the credits because he based his work on the work of this beautiful Frenchman of the 17th century, Sébastien le Prêtre, Marquis de Vauban. So here, the citadel was a French idea, but a British realization. Also, as you can see, we have a lot of grass on the wall of the citadel. And did you know why? No? It's a little camouflage. Because if you go on the plain of Abrahams and you look at the citadel, you will only see a little hill and not the citadel itself to help to hide the citadel. Also, all around the citadel, we have the glacis. It's an artificial hill built around the citadel. So because of that, we cannot see the citadel. But also, the enemy cannot hide around the citadel. So the defender can shoot them really easily. And finally, they construct the citadel on the highest natural point in Quebec City on Cap Diamond. So it also add to its defense.
Just like a lot master.
Any question? Good. Also, I hope today's your Canadian history this morning because I have a few questions for you. So first, what happened here in 1608? No idea?
Champlain?
Exactly. It's the foundation of Quebec City by the French explorator Samuel de Champlain. So he came right here. He liked this place. He found Quebec City and we become until 1759.
Right.
And what happened in 1759?
General Wolfe fought
Exactly, the British came here. So after a siege of 80 days, the British crossed the river to meet the French on the plain of Abrahams. And in a big battle of only 20 minutes, they kicked the French out of Quebec City and we become a British colony. But that's okay, now we like the British, but at this night it was another story. So we become a British colony until 1867. And what happened in 1867?
Confederation.
Exactly. It's the Canadian Confederation. We become Canada. Yay! But, what about but? We are still a British Dominion. So what it means? It means we're in a semi-independence. So basically, we can decide a proper law right here, but with all the international diplomacy, it was the British that decided for us. It's why during the First World War, we joined them automatically against the Germans, the Austro-Hungarian, and the Ottoman Empire. Any question about that? Good. So we can continue. Can you follow me?
I have to take my glasses off. That's an interesting thing. That would be probably World War I time.
Must have been.
Here. So when the British decided to kick the French out of North America, at the beginning the British kept the British said the French people they can keep their religions and their language and their culture because it was really different. The British were Protestant, the French were Catholics. Also the English speak English and the French speak French. So at the beginning they said to the French people they can keep their religion and their language because the Americans right here want to go independent, and they did. So they doesn't want also a revolt right here. So that's why they asked them, oh, you can keep your tradition, your language, and your religion. But after that, in 1837 to 39, we have the Patriot Revolt. It was mainly a French-Canadian revolt, but they also have some English-Canadian with them. It was a revolt against the crown because they wanted more liberties and things like that, but the British crushed them. And after that, they forgive French people to be elected to the parliament or things like that, and they try to assimilate the French people. But the French have, we call it la revanche des berceaux, cradle revenge. Because the Catholic Church said to the French people to make a lot of babies to conduct a British immigration. So it was not rare to have a family with 20-25 children. So they make a lot of babies. So it's one of the reasons why we are still French people right here. Also during the White Revolution of the 60s, we have a big nationalism movement, a French-Canadian movement that rise, and we passed a lot of law to defend French-speaking people and things like that. So that's why we still speak French right here. But we are a little Gaelic village in a sea of English people. because the French people are mainly in the province of Quebec right here. We also have some French-speaking communities in Ontario and in all across Canada, but it's mainly in Quebec, in the province of Quebec. So that's why we pass a lot of law to defend the French-speaking people right here. For example, we have the law 101 that force all the merchants and things like that to have only French language on their sign. For example, when I was younger, for the sign stop, we have it was written in French and English, arrêt, stop, but now it will be only in French. It would only be arrêt. So like that everywhere in the province of Quebec. And sometimes they call them the grammar, French grammar Nazi because they are really tough like for the French sign. For example, if you one time in Montreal, an Italian restaurant was written pasta on a facade, and the policeman just but not the policeman, but the governor just who sits in the restaurant and said, it's written pasta and not pot. So please, written it in French, please. So they can be really, really harsh with the French language right now. So it's something we make to protect French-speaking people right here. Because as I said, in North America it's mainly English. In North America, and what's a little Gaelic village right here, like Asterix in France, and give back in goal. So it's why we have a lot of law to protect the French language right here. Also, if you go to, for example, in Paris, in France, We see English language everywhere on the sign, but not right here because as a ballot to protect that language right here. So basically, we make a lot of babies, and we have some law to protect French speakers. Also, if you look at this building right here, as you can see, the stoneworks is really different than this building right here. It's because this one's a French one. So it was a French gunpowder magazine built in 1750. It's a little clue to know inside the Citadel if a building is French or British. Because when it's French, it's more messy like that. And when it's British, it's more regular like that. So another building like that inside the Citadel, you can try to find this. Well, the old hospital of the Citadel, because as I said, a Citadel is a little city in a big city. So if they have wounds or sick soldiers, they need to heal them. So at the time it was right here. And during the British time, this hospital had the capacity for 75 patients in 5 big rooms. But now since the 1920s, it's the headquarters of the Royal 22e Regiment. Also, if you look just above the door, you can see the regimental crest. What is this little animal on this regimental crest? A beaver, exactly. But why choosing a beaver for a military crest? It's not an animal really known for his military prowess. So why choosing a little beaver? Exactly. Because like all the Canadians, the beavers are really workaholic animals. With big dams and big house, so strong. Even a bear cannot destroy them. But also because the beaver was really important in French-Canadian culture. Because when the French came here, they doesn't find gold on their land, but they find the fur of this little beaver. So the French came here, they hunt the beaver or they trade fur with the natives, and they sell the fur in Europe in a really big price to make fur hats. So because of that, the little beaver makes the prosperity of the French colony here. So here, because it's a French-Canadian regiment, they chose the beaver as a regimental crest. On the log, we have their motto, Je me souviens, I remember. The number 22 is because this regiment was the 22nd to be created for the First World War. But before it was a regiment, it was only a battalion. It was smaller. On the ring, we have the sentence Régiment Canadien Français, French Canadian Regiment, to remind the working language of this regiment. At the top, we have the British Crown, and finally, in the center, we have the old coat of arms of the province of Quebec in 3 sections. The first one is the fleur de lis for the French regime. We also have the British Lion for the British regime, and finally, we have the maple leaf for the Canadian Burial. Any questions? Good. Also, right here is a good place for a little history of this regiment. So when the First World War began, we joined automatically Great Britain to the war against the Germans, the Austro-Hungarian, and the Ottoman Empire, the Turks now. But here, we have a little problem, because the French Canadians doesn't enroll in a big number into the military because of 2 main reasons. Did you have any idea of why?
No loyalty to British Crown.
Ah, it's not an official reason, but yes.
They didn't speak English.
Exactly. They doesn't speak English because at the time when a French Canadian enrolled into the military, he was sent into an English battalion. So you can easily imagine if you only speak French and no word of English and you are sent to the beautiful battlefield of the First World War and all your orders are in English. It was really good. They also have a religious problem because the French Canadian was for the majority Catholics, but the English Canadian was for the majority Protestant. Because of that, if a French Canadian dies in combat, he cannot receive his last rites by a Catholic priest. So because of these 2 reasons, the Prime Minister of this time, Robert Borden, ordered the creation of the 22nd French Canadian Battalion in the 21st of October 1914. But the battalion go to war against the German, the Austro-Hungarian, and the Ottoman Empire. We won. Yes. And in 1919, the battalion returned here inside the Citadel, and it was disbanded the day after. But 1 year later, in 1920, they reformed the battalion into a regiment this time. It was bigger and permanent. And finally, in 1921, because of their great success in the First World War, they received 18 battle honor for this war. The king of this time, King George V, gave the title royal to this regiment, title they still have today. And finally, they always named this regiment in French. It's because of a general order of 1927. Because of that, we cannot translate the name of this regiment. It's why sometimes the English speaker call them the 22, because it's more easy for them than saying Royal 22e Régiment in French. But did they have a volunteer to say it in French? No? So they call them the 22. But because 22 is a deformation of 22, 22, it respects the French origin of this name, so it's why they accept this little nickname. Any question? You're really close. Close. You can follow me.
So far.
Behind me, we have the old officer quarter. During the British time, this building has the capacity for 41 British officers with their family, but not only the commander of the Citadel and of the 2nd Battalion of the Royal 22e Regiment have the right to live right here in the middle section with his little family. And presently, is the Lieutenant Colonel Bertrand. In the first section right here, we have the oldest officer mess in all Canada. So inside, an officer can go drink a good beer, eat something, or just pass their free time with other officer. And finally, right here, we have the 2nd official residence of the Governor General of Canada, the Excellency, the Right Honorable Julie Payette. So if she wants to work here, she can if she wants. Also, a little clue to know if she's right here. Did you see this Canadian flag right here? So if the Governor General is right here, they will change the flag for the flag of the Governor General, a big blue flag with a British lion on it. And why they do that is because technically in Canada, the head of state is not our Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, but the Excellency, the Right Honorable Julie Payette, because she represents the Queen Elizabeth II right here. So because of that, if she's here, they will change the flag for the flag of the Governor General. And finally, right here inside his residence and inside of Frontenac Castle, right here, took place 75 years ago, the two conferences of Quebec of 1943 and 44. During these two conferences meet the Prime Minister of Great Britain, Churchill, the Prime Minister of Canada, Mackenzie King, and finally, the American President Roosevelt. And together, they talk about the Second World War, and they plan the landing of Normandy, D-Day, right here and right here in secret. Any question? You can follow me. Also, if you want, you can also visit the house of the Governor General. Just ask one of my colleagues in a red jacket, like this one, inside the gift shop. Just ask them and they will bring you inside.
George Vanier.
Comme un like a big village. French, par exemple, in France, tu bloques à door, tu will say dérouiller une porte. Over here, we will say barrer une porte. Like a big bar. Montreal, ici, technically, the head of state in Canada is not a prime minister, it's the governor general. The queen. Which is why when the queen is here, they touch the flag for the governor general. Technically, yes. Well, technically, totally independent, but the queen is still the queen of Canada. Also the queen of 15 other countries. Yes, the Commonwealth, yes. So she's technically still the queen, but she have no power. But was technically still a constitutional monarchy. Technically. That's why we still have the queen of president of yes. But was totally independent from Great Britain.
Is that your little restaurant down there where the...
First World War,
Might be.
Great Britain automatically, because we were still at Dominion.
I'll have to
But
check
like
the
the Second
phone
World War,
and
we
get
are
down
totally
there. I
independent.
think we should eat
So
some.
we declared,
Yeah, I'm hungry.
wait 1 week after the British to declare war against Nazi Germany, which would be the one that we were totally independent. We are still really close from the British, but we are technically independent. Technically. We have the powerful Rachel. It's a 9-ton cannon and she can shoot a shell of 60 to 80 pounds on 3 kilometers or 1.7 miles. Also, if you want to know how far she can shoot, did you see the little tower on the shore just in front of us? It's about 3 kilometers, so technically Rachel can shoot this far. Also, it does not know exactly why they decided to name it Rachel, but it was a common practice at this time to name big cannon like this one.
Always women.
Always women.
Also, they said it was perhaps one of the most beautiful girls in Quebec City, and she was really popular among the soldiers. You know what I mean? So perhaps that's why they decided to name it like that. Also, did you know what the word Quebec means?
Oh, I used
It
to
was
know.
a Native American word because if you look right, yes, it's a Native American word and it means where the river narrow. Because if you look right here, the river is really large, but right here it's only 1 kilometer. It's why they named the city Quebec, but also why the French and after them the British decided to build some fortification right here. Because it was the perfect place to defend the entrance into North America via the St. Lawrence River right here. Also, did you know what the word Canada means?
It was,
So it's also a Native American word.
Village?
Because when, exactly, it means village. Because when Jacques Cartier, a French explorator, came here in 1534, he asked a Native American what was the name of this land and he was pointing a village. So the Native American answered Canada, but Jacques Cartier understand Canada. So he decided to name this land Canada, but no, as she said, it only means village. So here in Canada, we're just one really big village of 37 million inhabitants. Hey! Any question? So, can you follow me? Because way before the British was here, the French was here. So this building was built in 1693 by the French engineer Josué Boisberthold de Beaucourt because of a British attack 3 years before. So because of that, Frontenac, the French government this time asked his engineer to construct his redoubt to defend Quebec City. But during the French time, this building was 3 times bigger, with 8 cannons on the roof and a capacity for 70 soldiers inside. But when the British came here, they need this place to construct the King's Bastion, so they destroyed a part of this building and they transformed it into a signal house. The place where the man had little flag like that to communicate with a boat on the river. So they can ask them to go here, go
Semaphore.
home. So they use the flags like that. And after the war of 1812, the British rearmed this redoubt. And until today, we still have this really, really old building. Also, another clue to know if a building is French or British, look at the type of stone. Because the French use this one, the black stone of Cap Diamond. So as I said, we're on Cap Diamond, that if we dig perhaps 1 to 2 meters, quality of stone, but the French have a lot of them, so it was way cheaper. Choose limestone and sandstone from 3 different quarries near Quebec City. So the quarry on the side of the river, the quarry of Sillery and Sainte-Foy, and on the other side, the quarry of Pointe-aux-Trembles. So look at the stone works and look at the stone itself. Any question? Good. So can you follow me? Good. So right here, we have a tenaille. So basically, it's a fortification inside a fortification, like a keep in a castle. So if an enemy invades the citadel, the soldiers go inside this building and they barricade inside of it to block the access to the King's Bastion just behind. So it's also really easy to shoot any invader. This is a 40 loophole right here. But this building also had another purpose, because it was also a military prison. Because if a soldier make a little mistake, like stealing something, do not follow the order, or being drunk in service, they give them some whiplashes and they send them inside for 3 to 21 days with a daily ration of potatoes and a Bible to read. But if a soldier make a big mistake, like killing someone, they hang them or they send them in Australia. So please, do not make big mistakes today. Finally, the last prisoner left this building in 1951, and after that, we transformed it into a museum. And now, we will go inside. Any question? Well, can follow me. So right here, we have built a collection of bayonets on this wall right here, and on the other wall from a lot of different countries and periods. First one, it is a beautiful cell right here, which is a pot chamber. It was the toilet of the prisoner. You can tell the pot chamber on the corner right here. Really good. You can also follow me inside the big rooms right here. Castle like that all across Canada, because the public can rest inside. Yes, also because it's really cold in winter. So that thing's right here. So right here, well, it's not the guard rooms. It's where it's bigger and more cozy than the outer cells, with these 2 fireplaces right here and right here. We also have some illustration of the city of Quebec and of the citadel at the time. Also, for the non-Canadian here, how cold do you think it can be right here in Quebec City in winter? Any idea? Exactly, minus 40 Celsius. So as you can imagine, it's really cold right here in winter. Yes.
Minus 40.
Yes.
Many places in Canada.
Yeah.
Yes, so it was sometime in winter, the St. Lawrence River froze completely, like in this illustration right here. So as you can see, at the time, the citizens used this ice bridge to go on the other side of the river at the city of Lévis. Because right here it's Quebec, and just on the other side it's Lévis. Or they just play curling on the ice bridge right here, like this, right here. But now we doesn't do that anymore because it was really dangerous. And now we have a modern technology like a bridge, ferry, and icebreaker. So it doesn't need to do that anymore. And finally, as you can see, at the time the guard had a really good HD TV.
Oh, these are the regimental.
Oh, isn't that nice?
Oh, they're lovely. There's the World War II one. Very similar to the one Dad wore.
I like the winter outfit.
Yeah, isn't that great?
Yeah.
All the medals.
Good. So as you can see on the picture right here, we have a goat with the regiment right here. So it's Baptiste the goat. It's the mascot of the Royal 22e Regiment. But why a goat? It's because this regiment is affiliated with the Royal Welsh, a British regiment. So because of that, they took a lot of their tradition, like the red coat, the Busby hat in Bear Fair, and having a goat with them. So as I said, it's Baptiste. And the first one was given to us by Her Majesty the Queen Elizabeth II in 1955. And she gave us the next 3 1. But after that, it was a little tyrant to give us a goat every time one of our goats died. So it's why Baptiste IV came here with his wife Catherine. So now, since then, we have our own royal herd of goats at Saint Apollinaire, a little village on the other side of the river. It's also a very aggressive animal who will defend his territory until he dies. It's a good quality for a soldier. It's one of the reasons why that this type of goat as a mascot. It's also a cashmere goat. It's a really expensive wool came from this type of goat. And the first goat of this type was given to the Queen Victoria in 1884. The King of Persia. And Baptiste right here is from the same royal bloodline. And finally, the man with the goat is the goat major. And yes, it's a real function inside the Canadian Army. So his job is to take care of Baptiste, his many wives, and many children. And also, each time they change the guard between June 24th and the first Monday of September, the goat major go take Baptiste at Saint Apollinaire. He take it in his Batmobile, and they bring him right here on the Parade Square. And Baptiste can see the changing of the guard each day of summer. Any question about that? Good. And finally, the name Baptiste, to ask came from the Saint Jean-Baptiste. It's the holiday of the province of Quebec. It's from John the Baptizer. But because here, with a French accent, which doesn't say Baptiste, but Baptiste, perhaps it's why they decided to name it like that. Well, that's for me.
Yes, I know, but I never.
But I didn't realize it was something the Mandaus. Dad used to talk a lot about the Mandaus.
Yeah.
They were very famous.
Good. So right right here, we have the General Georges Phileas Vanier. He's one of the founding members of the Royal 22e Regiment, or at this time, the 22nd French Canadian Battalion, and he fought during the First World War, and he lost his right leg at the Battle of Cherisy in 1918. A battle where all the 22 officers of this battalion was wounded or killed, and also lose 500 soldiers. It was a very bloody battle for this battalion. But after the war, when they reformed the battalion into a regiment this time, Mr. Vanier wanted to enroll again, but the army was a little skeptical because he only have one leg left, but he said they need someone with a brain to lead this regiment. So it is really good argument, they decided to enroll him again, and after that they become general, and finally he became the first French Canadian to become Governor General of Canada. And since these men, they alternate between a French Canadian and an English Canadian for the role of the Governor General. He was also a really religious man. It's why he transformed his old gunpowder magazine right here with a capacity for 4,610 kegs of powder into a chapel in 1927. And now inside, it's looking like that. Finally, this man died in 1967, and now he rests in peace inside his memorial right here with his wife at his side. Also, inside his memorial, we have a really important book, the Book of Remembrance. Inside this book, we have all the names of the soldiers of the regiment that lost their life in combat in alphabetical order. Also, each time the regiment returns from a mission, if they lose someone, they need to rewrite entirely by hand all the book to add the new name inside. And each morning, a non-commissioner officer go inside this memorial, turn a page of the book, said aloud all the name in a 2-page, make a military salute, and said, "Je me souviens, I remember," to pay tribute to his lost battle brothers. Any question? Can follow me.
In France, you know, where all the mentally handicapped people live.
Right.
The mother was Georgiana's wife was really, really,
Yes, that's right.
and so was Jean, obviously. He never became a priest monk. He's almost a saint. Very famous. That's where his father died. Because Vanier would have been Governor General when we were children.
Yes.
I remember he came to Kingston and got a full holiday.
So right here, we have the 3 men of the regiment that received the Victoria Cross. It's the most important military distinction in all the Commonwealth. The first 2 one received it for the First World War, and the third one received it for the Second World War. Also, the third one received it when he was still alive, and it's really, really rare with this type of decoration. And finally, right here, we have the Vimy Ridge Cross, a cross built by the Canadians after the battle of the same name. So what is Vimy? Vimy is a small village in north of France inside the Pas-de-Calais region near a really big ridge. And this ridge was a really strategical place in First World War because on the top of this ridge we can control everything around. Because of that, at the beginning of the war, the Germans took this ridge and they held it for the next 3 years with all the good stuff of the First World War. Machine gun nest, bunker, trench, barbed wire, cannons, toxic gas. It was really well defended. But because it was a French territory, the French tried to take it back, and they did, but they were pushed back the day after by German offensive. After them, the British also tried to take it, and they also failed. And together, these 2 countries lose 130,000 young men to take this ridge, and they failed. It's why after that they asked the Canadians to take their chance. So after 1 week of bombardment with 1,000 cannons to destroy the German defense, in April 9, 1917 in the morning, the day of Easter, the 4 infantry divisions of Canadians, about 30,000 young men, attacked this ridge, and we took it in only 3 days. But they suffered 11,000 casualties to take this ridge. It's why after this battle, each division built a little cross like this one to remember the sacrifice of their battle brothers. And after the war, to thank us, France decided to give us back these crosses, and now with the second one we're here because the 22nd French Canadian Battalion was in the 2nd Canadian Divisions. Also to thank us, France gave us a small part of the Vimy Ridge. So now, if you go here in France, technically it's a Canadian territory. Also, because in the First World War, the Canadians lost 66,000 young men, 11,000 of them were never found, still waiting in the mud of France. It's why we built this really big memorial with the 11,000 names of these young soldiers never found. Young men forced to fight in a war that doesn't ask for the egos of the powerful of this time. This battle was also really important in Canadian history because it was the first time the Canadians fought like an independent country. We planned the attack and we make it a success, where the powerful France and the powerful British Empire failed to take this ridge. The little Canadian nation showed to the world that we can fight like anybody else. It's one of the reasons why in 1931 the British finally gave us our independence. And finally, to show you the importance of this battle in Canadian history, if you took a $20 bills, you will see on one side the Angry Queen, but on the other side, she look angry on it, sorry. But on the other side, you will see the Vimy Ridge Memorial. So the next time you will pay something with a Canadian $20 bills, you can easily remember the sacrifice of these young men. So now, it will be the end of our tour. So I hope you enjoy it. So if you enjoy it, it was Jean-Philippe, and if not, it was Maurice. Thank you very much, and I wish you a good day in Quebec City. So thank you very much.